Here we have Nike's All Conditions Control technology, also known as ACC. You know that invisible layer that Nike claims gives you the same amount of control in wet conditions as you do in dry conditions, but you wouldn't know if it was truly there unless they plastered those 3 huge layers on the boots themselves. Well, whether or not you think it's the real deal or just another gimmick from Nike, you can't deny that the premise behind the technology is a real thing. And luckily you have me, your friendly neighborhood material scientist, to explain it to you. Hello and welcome to SubStanceFtbl. My name is Sub and I have another material science explanation video for you today. So in today's video we'll be talking about Nike's All Conditions Control technology, or ACC. So you know that invisible coating that Nike says is there that helps you keep control of the ball in wet conditions as you would in dry conditions, but you wouldn't know if it was there or not if they didn't have those 3 layers stapled on every single boot. Yeah, that one. It's actually, whether you actually believe it's true, whether you think it's a marketing gimmick, the technology behind ACC is a real thing. It's something that's seen in jets, planes, things of that ilk, etc. So me as a material scientist, it's something I've come across in my degree. Actually, in the 9 AM lecture that I actually bothered to go to, where this was actually explained, ACC is the first thing that came to my head. So in this video I'll be explaining to you the material science behind Nike's ACC technology. Now before I start explaining what ACC actually is in terms of material science, let me give you a brief history lesson about Nike's ACC. So ACC was first introduced in autumn of 2012 on Nike's top range football boots at the time. So that would be the Tiempo 4, the Mercure Vapor 8, the Total 90 Laser 4, as well as the Nike CTR Mastery 3. So according to Nike, I'll actually quote Nike's website. This is what they've said about Nike's ACC so far. Nike All Conditions Control technology allows the boot surface to maintain the same level of friction, touch and control on the ball in wet conditions as you would in dry conditions. The ACC technology is created by special treatment during the development of the upper materials to deliver a consistent feel of the ball at all times. So what I'll be doing in this video is basically explaining the treatment the upper goes through. Now time for the science. So this special treatment that Nike are referring to is that all their boots are sprayed with a hydrophobic polymeric coating. So I'm going to throw a lot of terminology at you, but I'm going to give you all the descriptions that you need to follow along. So starting off with hydrophobic, it just basically means that it repels water. Polymeric, it just means it's made from polymers, you know. So you're probably wondering what makes the coating hydrophobic. So the properties that we'll be looking are the contact angle and the wettability of the coating itself. So what the contact angle essentially is, or what it's defined as, is the angle formed by a liquid at the 3-phase boundary where a liquid, gas and solid intersect. So what that means in terms of football boots is the solid would be the boot, the liquid would be like the drops of rain on your boot, etc., and the gas would be the atmosphere or the air around you essentially. And when it comes to wettability is the ability of a liquid to maintain contact with a solid surface, and it is controlled by the balance between the intermolecular interactions of adhesive type and cohesive type. Now bringing those two terms together, the contact angle dictates the wettability of a surface or a coating. So the higher the contact angle is, the lower the wettability of the surface or coating, and vice versa of course. So when it comes to Nike's ACC, it falls between the boundary of 90 degrees and 150 degrees, which is known as the hydrophobic region for contact angles. Now it actually has to fall between this boundary, because if the contact angle was too low, it wouldn't do the job of keeping your control, traction, etc. the same in wet conditions as it would in dry conditions, and if it was too high, it would do the job too well. So like in essence, if you're going off Nike's kind of premise, the ball would be skidding off your foot essentially. To me, it makes no difference, ACC, but you know, going off what the technology says, this is what should happen. When it comes to how the liquid coating is applied, I have a theory of how it goes. I'm not too sure, but I've got a kind of a close enough theory of how it goes. So since ACC is not on the inside of your boots, I think that kind of disqualifies that the fact the boots were just, or the upper material is dipped in the liquid coating before it's actually joined to or glued to the sole plate of a boot. So what I think happens is, you know, before it's actually stitched onto or glued on, like I said, to the sole plate, I think that what Nike do is they have something that kind of just sprays the liquid coating onto the surface of the boot, and it dries, and then the upper of the boot gets the properties of the coating. I should also mention that the amount of grip you get from the coating kind of depends on the construction of the boot. So based on the materials that the boot is made of, so Flyknit, leather, etc, blah blah blah, you're going to get varying amounts of grip whether or not you have ACC anyway. So say a leather Tiempo with ACC, you still might get less grip of the ball with a Flyknit with no ACC, if you get what I mean. So me and ACC, I don't really think it makes a beneficial difference, but you know, if I'm paying £200 upwards for boots, I'm going to believe that I'm getting my money's worth and believe it's actually a thing. And just a quick add-on, the ACC coating itself is not as permanent as people think. So there's certain things that you can do that will actually damage or remove the coating from boots itself. So apart from like normal wear and tear, so say using abrasive brushes, that can damage the coating, as well as the infamous hot water trick. So if you use boiling water and dip your boots in boiling water, not only are you going to damage the boots in the long term in terms of like weakening the sole plate, you're actually going to melt the ACC coating off, as well as other things such as like some people customize their boots themselves. So like one of the things you do to actually customize your boots, you kind of take something like it's like primer or something that kind of removes the finish. Some people use nail varnish and removes the finish on top of football boots. That too will actually dissolve the ACC. So me personally, I don't believe ACC makes a difference, but like I said before, if I'm going to pay £200 upwards for football boots, I want to get my money's worth, and I'm going to pretend that I actually believe ACC is real. And finally, just to summarize everything I've said so far, what Nike's All Conditions Control, aka ACC, essentially is a hydrophobic polymeric coating which is sprayed onto the upper materials of football boots that when it dries gains hydrophobic properties. What makes it hydrophobic is that it should have a contact angle between 90 degrees and 150 degrees, hence why Nike say you should get the ability to control the amount of friction, the amount of grip in wet conditions as you would do in dry conditions. And that is it for the video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it, hopefully you found it informative. Do you still think ACC is a gimmick? Do you still think it's real? Comment down below your thoughts, and as always, follow me on my socials. They'll be on screen as well as in the description. Check out my podcast with my friends El Rondo, that'll be in the description also. And once again, thanks for watching. Peace.